it was quite a learning journey for me. So it's not only just getting into it, understanding what everyone does, understanding what's under the hood, but also ensuring that you take some time out to stay fresh as well, because you can get stuck right in and potentially burn out quite quickly. From some of those mistakes that are made along the way, you learn a lot. And we have a value within the company called fail fast, learn fast. So it's really about, as you're iterating, even if things fail, what do you learn from it? How do you take that forward into the next iteration of whatever work you're doing? And that doesn't just apply to technology, it applies to marketing or any other function within the group.
What's on your bucket list? It's a really good question for today's episode, because I'm joined by Matt Cavalier from Red Balloon, which is on track to be the world's largest marketplace for experiences. We talk about what it takes to run a business. Matt has been building that team back up over the last year, so we jump into how he has hired the right kind of people, how he's built the business, how he's adapted to the massive rise in mobile commerce, and we also talk about their plans for international expansion. Let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome to today's episode of the Make It Happen show. I'm Tim Morris, joined by Matt Cavalier. How are you doing?
Hey Tim, how's it going?
Great to have you on the show. So Matt is the general manager of Red Balloon, which I think everyone knows and loves. Great Australian success story. Now you guys are on a mission to serve one experience every minute.
Yep, this year.
How on earth are you going to make that happen?
Well, it's been a journey. I've been there about 10 months, and getting that big, hairy, audacious goal realized, it's been a journey.
Is that kind of a new goal that you've crystallized? Is that one of the things you've kind of brought the team together around?
As a group, we formed that as a group, and that's the group goal. And that's what we all get behind from a team perspective. So it's really about how do we get out there, get in front of customers, and really change gifting in Australia pretty much forever.
Yeah, nice. Well, it's so important to have a goal, a single goal that everyone can rally around, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's customer focused as well.
Yeah. So how close to achieving it?
We're doing well.
Yeah?
We're doing well. Yeah, we've got the last 5 months to go. But we're on track and making some good progress. So
nice.
Mother's Day is coming up, so as long as Mother's Day goes off without a hitch, we should be set well.
Are there any experiences you think will be particularly popular around Mother's Day?
It's interesting. Mother's Day, it's high teas, it's cruises, it's indulge, so spa packages, but it's also V8 driving. So
nice.
it can range. It's anything. It's anyone's call at Mother's Day.
So. Have you? Are there any particularly intriguing experiences available on the platform?
I think there's loads. I mean, there's 5,000 of them.
Yeah.
So
all intriguing and unique.
If you can't find anything intriguing, then you'd be set for a problem. But we have some cool stuff. Really simple things. Virtual reality rooms.
Yeah.
Those are great fun. If you haven't done that, that is an awesome day out. Really good with the team. As well. And then, of course, the standards. I drove a Ferrari a couple weeks ago, so we had the Ferrari for the day, and drove around Sydney here.
I'll be into that. Team, take note. Any experiences coming my way? The Ferrari drive, number one.
We can hook you up.
Awesome.
It's all about content for social media.
So what's your journey been to get to this point? So you're 10 months in. So what's brought you to Red Balloon?
Yeah, I think for me it's been a journey of working in a number of larger organizations and running business units within those organizations, and then going into a pure e-commerce play. So that's been in and of itself a journey going into that space. It's hard to get to know your customer. You don't see them, you can't touch them, and it's hard to speak to them. So my journey's been quite unique, I guess, in that. Moved country as well, so going to Australia, so it's been a cultural change.
Welcome.
Thank you. But also really trying to get, as I'll talk about customers a lot, really trying to get under the skin of customers. So for the first few months while I was there, it was call listening, trying to meet customers, look at all the data that we have on customers, and really trying to understand why they come to Red Balloon and how we can better service them. And we're an interesting marketplace because it's two-sided, right? So we have people who come to site, they're looking for an inspirational gift for their mom for Mother's Day. And then the other person actually goes on the experience. So it's a sort of double-sided marketplace in that you have one who purchases and one who receives and does the experience.
But then you've also got the suppliers.
No, absolutely.
So you've almost got a triple-sided marketplace, which is a lot of different customer groups to look after.
Absolutely. And just making sure that we're working very close with our suppliers because they deliver our brand promise. They really take it the last mile. Ensure that that individual has the best hot air balloon ride that they could have, or the best trip to the Hunter Valley that they could have. So we want to make sure that we work very closely with our suppliers to ensure that the customer experience represents Red Balloon right from when you purchase on site through to when you're posting on Facebook of what a wonderful day you had.
Yeah, super important, and I imagine pretty challenging as well. Like, you've got to give a lot of attention to it. So actually, one of the areas I'd like to drill into a little bit more there is, so you're the general manager who's come in to learn all about this business and then run it. Yeah. Like, how did you go through learning the business? So you talked about getting in and learning about customers, but what else did you have to get up to speed with, and how did you do it?
Everything from the tech stack that we use, so really sitting with our suppliers, sitting with all the different teams, really to understand what each individual team does, what some of their pain points are, where they see opportunity. Quite often through those discussions, there's a lot of nuggets under there which you can uncover and really sort of bring different opportunities to life. And I say probably the first 3 months is really just listening. Just being a listener. You're still an outsider, so you're coming in with a view, sometimes a fresh view, and just listening to what the business has to say and what your customers have to say, and what your suppliers have to say.
And was there a transition period with the previous GM, or was this a new role in the group, or how did that work?
Yeah, it was a new role in the group, so there was no prior GM. And actually the team is all pretty much new as well. So I spent the last 10 months recruiting pretty much a whole new team. I think the average tenure is about 6 months or so.
Oh, so that's pretty exciting for you.
So it's been a really good journey.
Well, actually, can you talk us through a little bit more about how that business structure has evolved? Because obviously Red Balloon has been around for a long time. And so how has it come that it has been this new team that's come out of a larger group?
Yeah, I think we're now part of a bigger organization called the Big Red Group. And within that, we have a number of different experience brands, as well as some other marketing artificial intelligence tool called Albert. So within that group, Red Balloon sits, and then we have a shared service model that sit around us. So we have finance, technology, HR, customer support, our supplier partner team. So we work very closely with all those teams in terms of delivering the promise.
Gotcha. And then in the Red Balloon business, underneath this group, what sort of teams make up that business?
So within my team, it's primarily marketing, creative, digital marketing, and some B2B sales.
And so you said earlier, like, this is you want to get into an e-commerce play and really get your hands dirty in here. And so not only have you dived right in and built a new team and all these areas that I imagine there's some new experience for you in there. How did you personally get up to speed with all this?
It was a lot. It was quite a learning journey for me. So it's not only just getting into it, understanding what everyone does, understanding what's under the hood, but also ensuring that you take some time out to stay fresh as well, because you can get stuck right in and potentially burn out quite quickly. So really ensuring that you're still
like 4 months.
Exactly, you can. And as you're going into major hallmark periods, Father's Day, Black Friday, Christmas, it's really intense in any retail business, in Red Balloon especially.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So really trying to maintain a level of looking after yourself as well as getting up to speed with the business.
Yeah, nice. Well, you're looking like you're enjoying it now, so you've obviously gotten through that first 10 months okay.
I'm grayer now.
Oh, well, that's business, everyone. If you expect you're going to look youthful all the way through, you've got another thing coming. So what's going on in the not just retail and e-commerce space, or however you want to tackle that? What's some of the big changes that are happening?
We see mobile adoption going crazy. Right? So if you think about it, I don't know, 5 years ago, I always think of this as kind of a funny example, but 5 years ago, if you're at a party and you need to get somewhere, you'd go out and hail a taxi. If someone said to you, oh, Tim, pick up your phone and call a complete stranger, they're going to come in their personal car and pick you up and take you somewhere else.
I've got a funny story about this. So you wouldn't know this, but I actually launched Uber in Melbourne.
Oh, right, okay.
And this was back when it was Uber Black. And so no one had ever heard of Uber here in Australia. Melbourne and Sydney were the first cities to launch here in Australia. So we were rocking up to people that you didn't know them, and I was saying to them, hey, you can pull out your phone and you can order a car to come and pick you up. And they're like, what are you talking about? But then you show them the answer, like, oh, I get it.
It goes against everything you've ever been taught, right? Don't get into cars with strangers from an early age. And next thing you know, you're getting in a car with strangers. So what that's really doing is it's changing the landscape, right? So we really see a lot more mobile commerce happening. So we're actually going from a sort of an e-commerce company to a mobile commerce company, and we've moved from a tech stack that was probably about 15 years old and just replatformed a few months ago, which will allow us a lot more capability in the mobile space.
It's actually a really interesting area to talk about. So, being built on a platform or a stack and investing a lot in it and then transitioning over a new one. What have been some of the challenges of doing that, and what have been some of the things that you've done well?
Yeah, the challenge is it's the first time we've done it.
Yeah.
And such a long time ago that the original technology was put in place. It was the first time that anyone there has pretty much done a conversion like that.
Wow.
But we did surround ourselves with external consultants, SEO consultants, technical consultants to make sure that we could get over that hurdle with as little disruption to business as possible.
You're going to try to find like the guy who originally built the platform. You're like, nah, he's long gone.
Well, you lose all of that IP, right, from the organization. So as you're going through and you're breaking it down, all these things come up that just no one knew. It's not documented. They weren't there when it was created, and really kind of learning as you go. And we ran it obviously in an agile methodology, so it was very much sort of test and learn as we go before we went live, and then ran parallel for a bit of time before we
a bit of redundancy there.
Yeah.
And all went well?
It did. Yeah, it did. I mean, we always have our hiccups. Every technology project has its hiccups, but
I think they need them, right? Because technology projects, if you implement them seamlessly, then it's such a letdown. Like everyone's like, oh, well, that's all done. Like a couple of little hiccups just help you understand what's at stake.
And you learn a lot too, right? From some of those mistakes that are made along the way, you learn a lot. And we have a value within the company called fail fast, learn fast. So it's really about as you're iterating, even if things fail, what do you learn from it, and how do you take that forward into the next iteration of whatever work you're doing? And that doesn't just apply to technology; it applies to marketing or any other function within the group. But now we're on a whole new technology infrastructure, and it's fantastic because there's 1,000 more things we can do.
Great.
We've got tons of UX, UI people who are all over it and looking at how we can really streamline that path to purchase and that customer experience.
Yeah, nice. So how much is on mobile now? What has been the transition? So your e-commerce was what percentage, and now is what, and mobile is what and what?
Yeah, I think probably now, and it depends. It varies by time of day, which is really interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. So you see a lot more mobile traffic in the evenings. People are potentially dual screening, so watching a bit of TV, or they're on their iPad or on their phone. But we can see anywhere upwards of 70% of traffic on mobile.
That's
which is
amazing.
Huge, which is massive.
Because I think the last time I ever heard any real stats around this was like 40%. Like maybe sometimes getting to 50%. Now to be at 70% of your traffic coming mobile.
And it shifted in the year I've been there.
Yeah, wow.
It shifted very quickly.
And so what sort of opportunities does that open up?
I think it really experiences are great, right? They're a great thing to buy. So when people are on their mobile, they're looking at social media, or they're actually on site and they're looking for things to do. It actually opens up that travel time. That time when there's downtime and you can shop for a gift, or you're browsing, or you're looking to be inspired, and you're just flipping through your phone or through your tablet. It just gives us a whole different time of day for people to actually experience our product.
Well, and show the experience as well, because we're on our phones so much, and watching videos, watching on all different social channels. Video is so important now.
Oh, it's absolutely. We're now testing video. So we're testing video on page. So on landing pages, we now put we're doing some A/B testing around landing pages that have video versus don't. Massive uplift. You see massive uplift in dwell time, but also in conversion for pages with a video on it. So, and of course, when you're selling experiences, we have a skydive. So everyone wants to watch the skydive, and then they go on this. I want to buy that for my dad or for my brother, or for myself even. Lots of people buy stuff for themselves.
Do you know how many people do buy experiences for themselves
Loads.
as opposed to gifting?
Like probably 30%.
Yeah.
That's it's a big part of the business.
Might go start treating myself.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. Or treat your partner. Lots of people will buy stuff for the weekend and treat their partner to a glamping getaway or something.
Yeah, cool.
So it doesn't just have to be for a special occasion or something like that, but just say, hey, let's go do something and let's do this experience.
Well, they're particularly good for like recognition and rewards in business. Like I actually remember setting up a Red Balloon recognition and reward program at a business I was at years and years ago, because it was like, hey, give people cash bonuses, and it's pretty fleeting. Give them an experience, and they remember it. They talk about it. It's long lasting. Is that still a big focus for you guys?
Absolutely. And actually, at my last organization, for the sales team, I actually asked them, what do you guys want in terms of how do you want to be incentivized for tactical incentives? And they used to get gift cards, and they said, we actually want Red Balloon experience vouchers. And it was amazing, because they competed to get them, and then when they got them, when they went on the experience, it was something to talk about afterwards as well. And typically they did it with their family.
Yeah.
So if you've been working and then you can share that with your family.
Well, you got to keep the family happy. You've been working long hours.
Everyone wins.
Yeah.
And then they have a story to tell back in the office. So we're definitely still in that business, and we have a lot of customers
Awesome.
who work with us for that same reason.
So something that we touched on very briefly, and I'd like to talk a little bit more about, is building this team, right? So you've come in, you've almost everyone you've brought on board in this new team that you've been building. Like, how do you go about doing that?
Yeah. Look, I think it's really understanding, where your personal weaknesses are, and where you need to hire to, and organizationally, where you've got gaps. And it's easy, right? You want people. Everyone says, when do you want this person hired? And you're like, well, a month ago. Right? We all say that. That's a standard.
Yeah.
But it's really taking the time to find the right person, right? And ensuring that you've got a very clear idea of who you need and what types of skills they need, but also they have the right mindset to fit within your organization. And I think, look, is a growing business, we wear a lot of hats. And it's managing that expectation when you bring those people in that, you will be doing some of this and you will be doing some of that.
Yeah.
But there's very clear objectives where we're trying to get to, and this is how you contribute to that.
I think one of the challenges for high growth businesses when they're hiring people, particularly when they're taking that next level up, and you're trying to attract that next level of talent, is that they actually spend so much of the time pitching to the talent, because when you're a high growth business, you're always selling, right? So they spend so much time pitching to the talent, they make it sound too rosy, and then these people get in, and all of a sudden it's it's scrappy, and they've got to wear a lot of hats, and sometimes that expectation doesn't quite match up. Have you got any strategies on how to make sure that those expectations are aligned?
Don't talk. Don't talk. You don't have to sell the business. If they've come to you, they know why they're there. They know what that they're interested in the role. So get as much out of them as you can in those meetings. And ensure that you have a lot of people meet them. I like to have a number of different people meet the candidates. For different reasons. Is it cultural fit? Is it technical capability? But so often, whether you're being interviewed or an interview, like you said, people just sell the whole time, and they're sold on it. You need to find out about them and make sure that they're going to fit your organization.
That was my biggest weakness as an interviewer for ages. I would just be like, whew, I talked way too much in that interview. You should have been listening to them.
And I always ask at the end, people, so why do you do what you do? And there's usually this pregnant pause as they try to figure out, and they always say, oh, that's an interesting question, that's a hard question. And it's interesting just to see that response, because when people tell you why they do what they do, if it's their passion or it's their personal, whatever it is, that's the nugget you're kind of looking for.
Yeah, nice. Well, riffing on that, right? So you are running a business under the Big Red Group for a well-known entrepreneur. You've gone and set up other businesses. Why do you follow this path?
I think for me, I have a bit of a personal brand. It's about making ideas happen.
I like that.
So for me, it's about how do you take these ideas and how do you take them? How do you implement them? How do you grow them? And really, how do you there's a lot of books probably that you could read, but a lot of it is common sense as well in terms of how you integrate that business, how you integrate it with the other functions, and how you scale that.
Well, it's funny you say that actually. It's funny that you use the word integrate there as well. In that a lot of entrepreneurs, particularly those that have had a bit of success and have built a business up to, say, a team of 15 or maybe 20, the challenge they have is finding someone to help them integrate everything together. It's not. For most entrepreneurs, that's not their default position. They're very good at creating the future, bringing it all together, very difficult. How would you recommend they go and find someone to help them integrate everything together?
I guess, if that's what you need, right? If that's what you need, that you need that integrator, you need that person to then run it and take it to the next level, and stay connected to that entrepreneur, stay connected to it, but also do what you do best as an entrepreneur, right? If you're best at doing deals, or you're best at being forward-facing or outward-facing, then do that. And let your team run it, but check in with them. Check in with them. I always think of it as almost setting some of the vision and then being a little bit of a rudder to help steer the ship. But you can't be the oars person and the this and the that. We've all got our own roles, and you got to let people kind of go with it.
No, absolutely. I think that's that's really the position that a lot of entrepreneurs should be playing. It's play to your strengths, what's your highest and best use, provide cultural leadership, provide direction, help kind of move people in the right way, but then let the business develop a business that can run without you being involved in absolutely everything.
And being open to the ideas that your people bring in as well, right? Because sometimes the owners of business or entrepreneurs, they've set it up and they're very attached to it. So being open to, and it's not just in current business, it's in other businesses I've worked in.
Yeah.
Bring in new talent, bring in talent from different industries,
Yep.
have a different perspective on things, and be open to those. And again, test and learn.
Yeah. I don't suppose you've got a strategy for how to kind of pull ideas together and then kind of take other people on the journey of accepting them.
I don't know if there's a strategy, but I think setting the vision with the team and having people participate in that, you get buy-in.
Yeah.
I think sitting in an ivory tower, those days are probably gone.
Yeah.
Sitting in an ivory tower and coming down and saying this is the strategy
Yeah.
doesn't go very well. But actually having your team be part of that strategy development,
Yeah.
and then actually connecting where that vision is to what each individual does. So if they see how I contribute to, in my day-to-day job, how do I contribute to achieving that vision?
Yeah, and so you talk through that with them or help them make the connection? How do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, we set, obviously we set goals,
Yeah.
and we have a whole methodology around how we do that. We keep that alive in all of our various one-to-ones that we have, but also just referring back to, how many customers have we served? And referring back to some of the key objectives of the business for the year, and every meeting it's just how are we tracking against those, and how are you contributing to that?
Actually, touching back on one-to-ones, right? So I think this is such an important management tool that a lot of particularly fast growth businesses, it tends to fall by the wayside because it takes a bit of time. Like, how do you run your one-to-ones? What do you try and get out of them?
There's one-to-ones and there's project updates, and they're very different things. Lots of times when you have a one-to-one, people want to come in and tell you all the stuff that they're working on. I try to set my one-to-ones so that it's about development and growth. So what blockages are they having? Where do they see development opportunities for themselves or their teams? And really support them in that growth. And leaving project updates outside of that. And then also having skip levels. So it's not just with your direct reports, but actually the people that work with them. And just catching up with them. Walks around the park, they're good. It doesn't need to be sat in a room. That can be actually some of the worst meetings I've had. But just going out for a coffee, there's a park across the street from the office, so I'll walk around the park and just getting out of the office sometimes.
Yeah. I had a mate though who was known for whenever he invited you for a walk, it means you were having a very stern discussion.
Right. Okay.
So he'd be like, walk with me, and everyone would be like, oh no.
Yeah.
So make sure you do it for good conversations as well.
Absolutely. Mix it up a bit.
Yeah. So what else do you do to help motivate and engage your team?
Look, I think there's a raft of things that we do. We have an employee recognition platform, which you've mentioned, exactly. So that works well. So that's for really small day-to-day motivation.
Yeah.
We have sort of monthly parties that we have if we have something to celebrate or we've hit certain milestones. We have an annual company offsite where the whole company goes offsite, so that helps to keep people motivated throughout the year. And I think but mostly I think it's sometimes just the easy thank you, job well done, quick email, small recognition, works really well for people.
Yeah. And it's also just taking the time to recognize and having them know that you recognize what they do.
Yeah. And when you've got a million things on, it's probably the last thing on your mind.
Yeah.
So like for me, it's not my natural state is to remember to recognize people.
Yeah.
So I have to consciously remember to say, actually, thank you, that was a job well done.
So do you set reminders for yourself? Do you set time aside for it? Do you just pull yourself up?
It's just something that I'm conscious about. And for me, I think, I expect it, but that may not be the case. So I want to make sure I understand, all the team and know what's important to them.
So something you mentioned earlier about building a team, and it's like making sure that they complement each other, they round each other out. How do you do that as a leader? How do you think? Okay, how do you identify your weaker areas or the areas that you could have someone with complementary skills and then find the right person?
Yeah. Well, I think it's whatever business you're in, right? You're going to know what you're good at and what you're not so good at.
Yeah. So functional capability.
Functional capability. So you may be an excellent ideas person, but not have a great knowledge of finance, for example, right? So you may be a great marketer, but finance is not your forte. So really understanding that and recognizing that, and then saying, to grow my business or to scale my business, I need to have a top-notch finance lead. That person may wear a couple different hats. They may manage the day-to-day finances of your business. They may be well-versed in raising capital. So helping you, how are you going to get to that next level through funding your business? And they may also take on other functions. They may look after compliance and HR for a time while you're growing, and then you can start to bring those functions in as you can.
Yeah, but it's interesting. You might not necessarily have to get a full-time finance person straight away.
Yeah.
Like you might be in a great position where you have a shared service like you, or you might be able to outsource it, or bring like a part-time CFO. There's probably a bunch of options there for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, you may have people who want to consult a few days a week, and that may be sufficient for the point in time of your business. So it's not only, I look at it as what does the business need today, but also what does the business need in the next 12 months or the next 18 months. So you're hiring for the future, not just for the immediate term. Because if you just hire for the immediate term, it's probably going to be redundant in a short amount of time. So.
Yeah, I find that that's definitely a balancing act that you got to deal with all the time. It's like you can look too far out, right? If you're staffing up for like 2 years away, and a lot of stuff can change in 2 years, like that might be too far. And as you say, this is only a couple of months. By the time the person's on board, you're like, we're at our capacity. So it's always a balancing act between those. So I think talking about looking to the future, like what is ahead for you guys?
Look, I think we are we're on a bit of a quest. In terms of becoming the biggest experience provider in Australia, and I'm sure there might be some international plays coming up in the future as well.
Are you letting the cat out of the bag?
There's no cats being let out of the bag, but but it would make sense. I mean, we're in New Zealand, so that's international, right?
Already there.
Yeah, so we're already there. We're looking at how can you take either the Red Balloon brand or any of the other brands within the BRG, and how can you expand in the experience category.
So what are some of the things that you need to look at in terms of that international expansion? Because this is a very, very interesting area. I think particularly for Australian businesses, like, we do have a challenge of a smaller market, and if things are going well, you're going to want to look further afield. Like, what are the things that you hypothetically might be starting to look at?
I think in any business, right, whether it's us or any business, but who's already in the market? Are there partnership opportunities? Some people think they need to enter on their own and be the sole warrior to go in and enter that market, but there may actually be partnership opportunities or joint venture, and any business is looking to get into another market may want to consider that.
And so what do you think is a good joint venture? Might be someone who's in a similar business in another country that wants to sort of bolster their firepower, or a complementary business that might want to move in the same market. Like, what would be a good potential partnership?
I mean, it could be somebody who's complementary, or somebody who's doing the same thing you are, and they might want to have a broader scale. So you may have some sort of JV across geographies,
or bring a whole new modern tech stack.
Or bring a whole new modern tech stack that that we have
bargaining
now.
chip.
Exactly.
Yeah, good
exactly.
one. And then what else would you look for in terms of international? So it's like, how are you going to enter the market? But what other things need to be on the radar?
Well, I guess is your product fit for that market, right? We could all make an assumption about, this is great for a certain market because it works here, but one size doesn't always fit all. So, are we relevant in that market? Is the market ready for it? And does it have the capability to support your business? So, like, if we want to say just using experience business that we are, if we wanted to go into another market, does that market have experiences? Because if you can't fulfill that end of the customer promise,
would be a very boring country if it didn't.
Well, some don't. But it's having that, it's having that range and that depth and that breadth. Or is it highly fragmented? The U.S. is a very fragmented market. So there are opportunities to go in geographically in the U.S. rather than trying to dominate
carve
the
off
whole.
A smaller area first.
Rather than trying to dominate 330 million people, you may carve off a small niche and enter in that way.
And for a business like yours, like, do you imagine that you would need to actually set up a footprint in another market, or could you run most of it from here, or how would you try and do that?
I guess it depends on anything from legal or whatever requirements that those markets might have. But I guess in our business, you would, because the relationship so much is with the supplier who delivers the experience, you would need to have that relationship locally as well. And also you need that local talent to understand what's trending, what's happening in the experience market, what are people in X country doing that's really hot, which may be different than it's happening in Australia. It's hard to do the Sydney Bridge climb if you're in Florida, for example.
I did the Sydney Bridge climb only about 2 months ago, and it was on one of those weekends. It was gale force winds, and we were like 3 kilometers an hour under the point where they shut it off, and we almost got blown off.
But you remember it.
It was very exciting.
Yeah, that's perfect. That sounds great.
Near tragedy makes the best experience.
Exactly. You have stories to tell. You live to tell about it.
That's fantastic. Okay, I'm getting the team is saying it's time for we've got a couple of questions here that I haven't seen and you haven't seen. And we'll try and get these to happen in under a minute, although we fail dismally all the time.
All right.
So you ready to give these a crack? And I'll have a couple more to finish up with. First of all, What is a quality that makes a good leader?
Under a minute. I think openness, transparency, and communication.
Yep, excellent.
That's 3. Is that all right?
Well, that's
yes,
perfect.
for one.
I still got to ask the rest of the questions.
All right.
That doesn't get
I thought that counted for answering all 3.
No. Red Balloon's 2018 Christmas campaign urged shoppers to break with tradition during the holiday period. How did you break with tradition?
How did I personally break with tradition?
Tongue twister.
Well, for me, living in Australia, Christmas is breaking with tradition every year.
What the hell is this heat?
So not having turkey and everything else is definitely breaking with tradition.
Yeah. Well, you still have turkey for Christmas.
Yeah, it's not the same. Having prawns and all that's what Christmas is about for me.
Good one.
And I did hand out a lot of red balloon vouchers this Christmas.
Yeah, you would have been very popular.
Yeah, exactly.
What's an experience on the top of your bucket list?
Oh, geez. There's a lot. And given my role, you'd think I'd be doing them all. I want to do skydiving.
Yeah.
I'm scared to death of doing skydiving. So I want to put it up there, but I don't know if I can do it. So I thought maybe start with a hot air balloon ride first, go a little slower.
Nice. Or there's something to be said for just going for it.
I know. I think just take the plunge. I might just have to do that.
All right. Well,
put the GoPro on and away I go.
Send us a video if you do it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Be a good promo.
Yeah.
All right. What's a skill you wish you had?
Oh, a skill I wish I had. I wish I had some sort of artistic capability. I'm just looking at some paintings on your wall here in the office, and they're brilliant, and they were done by your staff, and I have not an artistic bone in my body, so I'm very jealous.
Yeah, good. Well, we did that through. It was an experience actually, where we all had wine, and someone came and taught us how to do paintings.
Yeah.
I think the wine helped some of the creativity come out for everyone.
Absolutely, wine goes well with everything.
And final question, and this is something I'm riffing on the whole conversation, your experiences. What have been some of the interesting things about coming and learning to do business in Australia?
Well, you've got lots of terms that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
So that's been interesting.
Can you share any now, or are they all a bit rude?
No, mostly they seem to be rude in Australia. And I think culturally, what's probably been the biggest, what's quite interesting for me is moving from London, especially to Australia, is I thought it'd been a little bit more English in a sense, but it's actually quite American.
Yeah, that's true.
So culturally, it's been a bit of a different than I thought it was going to be.
Excellent. And a very last question: what are you most looking forward to in, say, the next year?
Hey, look, we've had some professionally. We had some amazing campaigns and experiences this year, and really just looking forward to keep that going.
Nailing that
would be nailing that and keeping that. We've set the bar high,
Yeah.
and maintaining that level would be awesome.
Awesome. And getting to one experience every minute.
Yeah, and one experience every minute, and I have to do more experiences as well.
Yeah.
I have to get out there.
The first one being skydiving.
Yeah.
Matt Cavalier, thank
Excellent.
you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
It's been a real pleasure. See you later.
See you.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Make It Happen show. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. And it doesn't need to end there. We've actually gone and grabbed a whole bunch of extra resources for you. Behind the scenes footage, videos from this and all the other episodes, as well as show notes that you can grab for free. Just head along to www.the-entourage.com/podcast and you can grab all those extra resources. Thanks for tuning in, and I cannot wait to introduce you to our next guest on the next episode.